Listen closely. What if I told you that the very thing you fear most, suffering, could be the doorway to freedom? What if pain was not a curse, but a teacher? And what if the man who taught that all life is suffering also whispered that life itself is precious beyond measure? This paradox, this riddle, is the heart of Buddhism. And today, we are going to walk together through centuries of wisdom, sacred rituals, and timeless teachings to understand why the Buddha looked at a world full of impermanence, death, and sorrow, and still called it beautiful. Stay until the end, because by then, you may never see your own life the same way again. Over 2,500 years ago, in the ancient kingdom of Kapilavastu, in present-day Nepal, a child was born into royalty. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, a prince surrounded by riches, protected from all forms of suffering. Siddhartha's life seemed destined for comfort and power. Yet, despite being shielded behind palace walls, fate placed before him the four sights: an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and a wandering ascetic. These encounters shattered his illusion of eternal youth and endless pleasure. He realized that no matter how much wealth or status one holds, life is fragile, fleeting, and woven with suffering. It was this realization that set him on a journey not for conquest, not for kingdoms, but for truth. He abandoned the palace, left behind his family, and wandered as a seeker. He practiced austerities so extreme that his body nearly collapsed. But he discovered that self-torture was not the way. Under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, after days of meditation, Siddhartha experienced awakening. He became the Buddha, the awakened one. He did not erase suffering from existence, but he saw it clearly, understood its cause, and found the path beyond it. The centuries that followed gave rise to countless figures who carried his teachings across Asia. Emperor Ashoka of India, who once drenched lands in blood, but later spread Buddhism with compassion and non-violence. Great scholars like Nagarjuna, who expanded Buddhist philosophy, and the monks and nuns who walked barefoot village to village, carrying not gold, but wisdom. From the caves of China to the mountains of Tibet, from the temples of Japan to the forests of Sri Lanka, each generation added its own voice to the eternal chant of awakening. Today, when you step into a Buddhist monastery, you can feel the echo of that ancient history in every corner. The ringing of the meditation bell, the fragrance of incense rising like prayers into the sky, the saffron robes of monks moving quietly in linet, all carries the weight of centuries. Rituals such as offering alms to monks, chanting sutras, lighting lamps before statues of the Buddhas are not mere traditions, but living bridges between the past and the present. lay Buddhists in Thailand, Myanmar, and Cambodia still wake before sunrise to place rice in the bowls of monks, symbolizing generosity and humility. In Tibet, pilgrims spin prayer wheels and carve mantras into stones, believing that each turn and each syllable sends ripples of compassion into the world. In Japan, Zen practitioners sit in silence, facing a wall, breathing deeply, searching for insight in simplicity. And across the globe today, millions light candles, bow their heads, and practice mindfulness not as a ritual of escape, but as a daily return to presence. These practices reveal something profound. Buddhists do not deny suffering. They embrace it. They see sickness, aging, and death not as enemies, but as reminders to live deeply and compassionately now. At the heart of all of this lie the core principles of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path. The Buddha taught life contains suffering. Suffering has a cause, which is craving and clinging. Suffering can end, and the path to its end is through wisdom, ethical living, and mental discipline. But Buddhism does not stop at philosophy, blooms into love. Compassion, or karu, is the heartbeat of the tradition. The ability to feel another's suffering as your own and to respond with care. Loving kindness, or meetbe, is the practice of radiating goodwill without boundaries, offering warmth to friend, stranger, and even enemy alike. And mindfulness, the awareness of each passing breath, sensation, and thought, the thread that weaves this wisdom into the fabric of daily life. This is why the Buddha called life precious, not because it is free from pain, but because within this fragile body and this fleeting moment lies the chance to awaken, to love, to serve, and to see clearly. Life is rare, like a dewdrop on a blade of grass at dawn, shining for only a moment before it falls. And that brief moment is sacred. Look around at the world today, and you'll see Buddhism's imprint everywhere. From mindfulness practices in schools and hospitals to meditation apps guiding millions each day, the ancient wisdom of the Buddha flows into modern life. Scientists study the effects of meditation on the brain, confirming what monks have known for centuries, that training the mind can bring peace, resilience, and even healing. Compassion-centered therapies are transforming the way we approach mental health. But Buddhism is not just a tool for stress relief, is a philosophy of living. In a world driven by consumption, division, and endless craving, its teachings remind us to slow down, to let go, to cherish what is here now. When conflicts rage, it whispers, choose compassion. When greed consumes, it says, give. When despair overwhelms, it points, breathe, and so. The paradox resolves itself. Yes, life is suffering, but it is also the stage upon which awakening unfolds. Without this fragile, imperfect existence, there would be no path to compassion, no chance to see the truth, no opportunity to awaken. Life is precious because it is fleeting, because it is uncertain, because it asks us to love while we can. So tonight, as you close your eyes, remember, every breath you take is a gift. Every joy, every sorrow, every tear, and every smile is a thread in the vast tapestry of awakening. The Buddha did not call life precious to deny its suffering. He called it precious because within suffering lies the seed of freedom. And perhaps, just perhaps, when you wake tomorrow, you will see your life not as a burden to escape, but as a path to walk with compassion, with courage, and with love. The story of Buddhism is not just about a prince who became enlightened. It is also about the world in which his voice first echoed. More than 2 millennia ago, ancient India was a land alive with questions. Great kingdoms rose and fell. People searched for meaning in sacrifice, rituals, and prayers to countless gods. Yet beneath all the grandeur, there was unease. Farmers struggled with famine. Families suffered loss, and death was an ever-present shadow. It was into this restless world that Siddhartha's awakening was born, offering not another ritual, not another dogma, but a way of seeing. The Buddha's message spread not through conquest, but through compassion. Disciples walked barefoot, carrying nothing but bowls, chanting verses as they went. Their presence alone was a reminder. Here were people who owned nothing, sought nothing for themselves, and yet radiated peace. Mattered more than wealth. This was the silent revolution of Buddhism. As centuries passed, certain figures became guardians of the flame. Emperor Ashoka, once known as a ruthless conqueror, was transformed by the Dharma. After witnessing the carnage of his own wars, he turned to Buddhism and vowed never again to rule by violence. Instead, he carved edicts of compassion into stone, pillars across India, declaring that kindness, tolerance, and generosity were the true marks of greatness. His influence spread Buddhism far beyond India, sending missionaries to Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and beyond. In China, monks translated sutras into new languages, carrying the Buddha's words across mountains and deserts. They brought with them not just philosophy, but art, painting, sculpture, and poetry. Great caves were carved with images of the Buddha, their faces serene and timeless, watching over generations to come. In Tibet, the teachings merged with ancient spiritual practices, giving rise to a rich tradition of ritual, mantra, and meditation. In Japan, Zen Buddhism arose, teaching that enlightenment could be found not in scriptures alone, but in the simplicity of sitting, breathing, and seeing reality just as it is. But Buddhism was never just about monks in monasteries. It was about ordinary people, mothers, fathers, farmers, artisans who lived their daily lives guided by the Dharma. Their prayers, their rituals, their acts of kindness kept the teachings alive. Even when wars raged and empires crumbled, the seed of compassion planted by the Buddha continued to grow. And this is why life, even in the midst of war, famine, or loss, was seen as precious. Because in every lifetime, no matter how difficult, there is the possibility of awakening. To be born human, the Buddha taught, is a rare and extraordinary gift. Unlike animals driven only by instinct or gods lost in endless pleasure, humans live in the fragile balance between joy and sorrow. It is in this very balance that wisdom can take root. So, when we look back at the ancient world, we see more than history. We see a mirror of our own struggles. Their suffering was our suffering. Their questions are still our questions. And the answers the Buddha offered, though given thousands of years ago, continue to speak. Life is fleeting, but it is also sacred.